Hello and welcome. My name is Father William Maestri, and this is Overfed and Undernourished. In recent months, of course, we've heard a great deal about viruses, vaccines, therapeutics, with various kinds of viruses, most specifically, of course, the coronavirus. But there's another virus that has been greatly discussed in recent weeks, if not months, that has made its way onto television in various kinds of public service announcements or promotions or encouragement to parents that they should be getting their children vaccinated for, because there is a vaccine for this particular virus, and that the message sent is that when you go to your physician for regular checkups, your pediatrician or what have you, that it would be a good idea to get this particular vaccine in place. And the particular virus that I'm talking about, of course, is HPV, human papilloma virus, again, HPV. And this particular virus has been linked medically to various forms of cancer, particularly cervical cancer, as well as the transmission of genital warts, also anal cancer, and cancer in other parts, especially of the female body. But this particular virus has also shown an ability to be associated with cancer in the neck, in the brain, and in other parts of the body. So the vaccine is available for both male and female. And this particular vaccine has the support of the CDC, as well as the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Disease Control Center in Atlanta. And it's heavily promoted and so on. And one comes away with the impression that this is part of being a responsible parent, that if one is a good parent, one has this as just a normal course of a visit to the doctor, etc., because it's very beneficial. However, I think we need to step back just a bit in order to get a little perspective and to see if there are not some deeper cultural and moral issues at work in the promotion of this particular vaccine as a response to HPV, the human papilloma virus, especially since it affects, again, over 80 million people in the United States. And again, that's probably a very low effect there. But again, the impression that's given, if you look at these particular spots, if you want to call them that, is that if you're a good parent, you are a parent who, again, uncritically and without hesitation, subjects your child to this particular treatment. It's done over a period of 6 months. It's 3 shots that are given in the arm muscle up here by the shoulder. And it can start as early as 9 years of age. The ideal time is for preteens. And but it can go up even to the age of 45 and be supposedly effective. And there are a number of side effects that result from this particular vaccine: pain and swelling at the joint, slight fever, headaches, nausea, diarrhea, abdomen pain, fatigue, headaches, a whole assortment of these things that take place. But it clearly indicates that this particular vaccine is not of value when it comes to sexually transmitted diseases, STDs. And I think we ought to take a critical look at the idea that this is something that we should embrace without hesitation and without question. That is, administering to children, beginning at the age of 9, if you will, through their pre and obviously post-teen years, in order to protect them from this virus, which can produce genital warts and also cervical cancer, or at least associated with that, along with anal cancer and various other kinds of cancers that may develop in the body, neck and head, etc. And the hesitation or the examination that ought to be taking place is a moral and cultural one. Do we really want to send a message to our young people, especially beginning at the age of 9, and getting into preteen and into those teen years, which are very, very crucial in the areas of relationships, human sexuality, marriage, family life, and all of those kinds of issues that come to the forefront while so many profound internal changes biologically, physically, emotionally, psychologically are taking place within the child. And it can easily be understood that this particular message is saying this: we really can't do anything to stop you young people from engaging in premarital sex. We really can't do anything because you're going to do what you want anyway. So the least we can do for you is to give you the technological and medical fixes to allow you to engage in that kind of behavior, that committed, faithful, adult, mature behavior, that is marriage and the nuptial love genitally that goes with marriage, among many other goods that go with marriage. So the best that we can do at this particular time in culture is to allow you to have the behavior without the consequences, and here's the excused from consequences card that we can give you. And we see that in so many areas of life today. It's really part of the culture. And so many children are raised with that kind of expectation. Behavior disconnected from consequences. And they grow up with that kind of entitlement mentality that develops. And one of the most significant connections of human sexuality is with procreation. And that's not a bad consequence, it shouldn't be. It's a gift, it's a blessing within the context of marriage. Marriage between a man and a woman, husband and wife, within the context of the nuclear family, has been something that has sustained us for thousands of years, at least in Western civilization, certainly. Now we can talk about all the aberrations and all of that. That's beside the point. The point is that social research continues to indicate that within the nuclear family, with a loving husband and mother, with proper moral and spiritual training and education and all the things that go there, children have a tremendous advantage in facing what life holds for them and in making a contribution with their particular lives. But in our culture today, sexuality is often, it's devalued. It's treated as something trivial, it's for entertainment, it sells products, it's exploitative, it's used for power and control, it's used for trafficking internationally with the abuse and use of children and women especially, but also men are involved in this too, and are exploited and used. It turns the dignity and sacredness of the human person into a mere object to be exploited and used. And granted, it may not be on those grand scales, but every time we devalue something as intimate and essential to the human person as human sexuality, we are turning that person into a thing, an object, a commodity, something to be manipulated, something to be controlled, rather than a mystery to be drawn into. It's turned over to a kind of technique or an economic exchange. And are we sending that message to our children? Not to see the importance of chastity, self-discipline, of purity. For many, these are old-fashioned, antiquated ideas. Well, maybe they're old because they're so valuable, and not valuable because they're old. They are important. They're written into the very fabric of the human person, the fabric of the family, the fabric of society. And so, somewhere along the line, we've gotten the idea that the best we can do for young people is to allow them to behave according to the popular culture, which is all around them. They're awash in it, which seems very normal and good. It's sensationalized and glamorized. It shows people getting ahead and happy and fulfilled. What it doesn't show is often the wreckage that takes place from treating marriage, family life, and human sexuality and another person as an object. It doesn't show that wreckage, which is far greater and more devastating than the glamour that's presented, especially to young people, day after day, hour after hour. And this is where the importance of the family and parents come into play. What kind of modeling and education, what kind of values and table conversation takes place within the home? Again, for many, this is unrealistic. This is expecting people to live back in the time of Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver and My Three Sons and all of that sort of stuff. Well, that's a wonderful dismissal that really doesn't answer the question. So we take a kind of romantic, sentimental view in order to validate what clearly has been destructive, clearly has weakened the very fabric of society and of the value of the individual person. And the importance of education, and that education does not simply come in the classroom, although that's very important, but it also begins and ends in the home. And as parents, bringing children to the pediatrician, which is a normal, everyday thing that takes place. It's a wonderful thing to make sure that your children are safe, that your children are healthy, and everything is fine. And again, to have a conversation with your physician, not simply about medical effectiveness. We hope your doctor is medically effective, we hope, and not defective. But what we would like to have is a conversation about the virtues, values, and beliefs of the physician. You say, well, gee, I couldn't talk about that. Why not? Why can't you? You talk about some of the most intimate things of your life with your doctor. Talk about things that you would never talk to anybody else about with your doctor. Why wouldn't you talk about the moral, spiritual, virtues, and values of the person whom you are entrusting your child to? I think most of us would say, well, Johnny, where are you going? Who will you be with tonight? What group is going to be there? Are there any adults there? We used to say that. Maybe we don't say that either anymore. But we should. And yes, I would want to know that. We don't have to be apologetic about it. We don't have to clear our throats and kind of whisper it and hope that it doesn't offend. If a person can't state their deepest beliefs and values, their deepest virtues and convictions, especially in such a position of trust as a doctor, then maybe that's the wrong doctor. Then maybe that's the wrong doctor. Because that's also important to the health of your child. We want what's best physically. We want what's best psychologically and emotionally. But why wouldn't we want what's best for the soul of the child, that immortal part of the child? Why wouldn't we want something that is going to help that child develop in their dignity as made in the image and likeness of God? The dignity of every person. That's something that should be right at the top of the chart when we're selecting a physician to entrust our child to. We don't throw our child, most of us if we can, we don't throw them in any school. We don't let them go on any team or be associating with any coach or any trainer. We want to find out about it. Why wouldn't we do the same thing when it comes to our physician? That is a conversation that is just as important, if not more so, than whether or not the doctor has a medical license and is a good doctor. We want that. Of course we do. But at the same time, we also want a doctor who shares our values as parents, our beliefs, our approach, because medicine is not simply an objective scientific dispensation of knowledge. It also has to do with the values of that particular person entrusted with the care of our children. And so I think that those conversations need to go and to be discussed. And I think an uncritical cheerleading of a procedure, of a vaccine, without any kind of real digging deep beyond, well, it's medically prescribed, or it's medically encouraged, or medically expected, is one of the most important conversations that parents can have with each other. It should be an ongoing conversation of parents with their children as they form and develop. And it should be something that's crucially important for the discussion between parents and the physician with whom they trust their child's well-being. And so for both doctors and for parents, we turn to an old, time-tested, and very good principle. For doctors and for parents, above all, do no harm.